Hey everybody, welcome to the Blue Lounge Podcast.
Yes, welcome back to the lounge.
Did I sound kind of drunk on that one?
On which one?
The second one technically.
Well, sometimes when you say Blue Ribbon Lounge.
Blue Ribbon Lounge.
Blue Lounge. Blue Lounge.
This is the Blue Ribbon Lounge Podcast.
Hey!
With Matt and Dave in the basement.
Yes, coming to you live from the basement.
Beer, 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 beer. Basement.
Yes. WBRLP.
Yeah. World Blue Ribbon Lounge Podcast.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us today, everybody. We got a very spooky episode for you today.
This is where the lightning crashes.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to say drops while we're recording, and maybe I'll be able to find them and put them in. Like right here is a spooky vampire.
Well, why do you need a drop when you can just be like, mwahaha?
Oh yeah,
or like
my vampire almost sounded like a monkey.
Blah blah blah.
But yeah, it's the spooky season. Everybody, it's Halloween time. Is this your favorite time of the year, Dave?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I know you a little bit, so I'm guessing it's more than just Halloween and horror movies.
What do you mean?
You seem to like the fall weather and
hoodies, fall.
hoodie weather.
I like to sit outside a lot when it's chillier.
For sure, good time for fires and
I like fires too.
Yeah,
setting them.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Do you get cold? Set your neighbor's house on fire.
Hey now,
you're a rock star.
Get your fire on.
Yeah.
Go in flames.
There you go.
What have you been up to, Dave? It's been a little while. Is it so we record every other week?
Yes.
Now.
Yes.
So it's only been 2 weeks. What have you been doing?
Went camping.
Oh, how was that? I can't ask you where you went.
Yeah.
You won't tell me.
But it was kind of coincided with the first day of autumn. So
yeah.
That was cool.
Just happened to be out there?
Well, I wanted to go and
what is that called, the first day of autumn? Or is it the winter solstice? Or is that's the first day of winter?
Yeah.
Does the first day of autumn have fall?
I don't know if it's got a solstice. I think there's only two.
Only the spring and winter solstices? Summer and winter solstices?
I don't know, summer or winter, I think. Yeah.
There's got to be something that falls on the first day of fall.
I don't know. I just was camping.
And it's probably some sort of pagan word that we don't know.
No, we'll get into their fall stuff,
oh, okay.
I guess, with the meat and potatoes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it was fun camping, and I didn't think it was too cold, but I also like it a little bit chillier when I go camping.
Yeah. Because
then you can use your sleeping bag,
mm-hmm.
whereas opposed like in the middle of the summer where it's like 80, 90 degrees.
You don't even want to lay it down.
Yeah, you're just going to stick to it.
Yeah, gross.
Yeah.
They have like expensive sleeping bags for everybody, or for every season rather.
Yeah.
And also for every body-shaped sleeping bags.
All right. I have a bigger one, so I'd rather
thicker
go.
one?
Yeah, when it's chillier.
Yeah.
Because I was actually kicking it off me. My old lady was like, "It's so cold."
As a lot of times they are.
Yeah, because she thought we were just gonna go just grab a bag and go. I'm like, oh no, you need to change of clothes just in case you slide in some mud or fall in a creek or something. And she's like, okay. She brought extra clothes, and in the morning she put on every article of clothes that she had. She had 2 pairs of pants on and 2 shirts and her hoodie.
Good thing she brought them then.
Yeah.
I always way overpack for trips. I always pack if I'm gone for 3 days, I got 10 pairs of underwear with me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe I had a bad time. I sharded really bad or something when I was younger, and now I'm it's a trigger for me.
I always go one for each day and then plus one, just in case.
Yeah.
One time when I was a kid, though, I think it was one of the first times my mom let me pack to go to my dad's house in the summer. And when I got there and my stepmom was helping me unpack, she's like, "Where's your socks and underwear?" I'm like, "Dope." So we had to go buy all new socks and underwear.
That's funny. How far away did your dad live from your mom?
Like half a country.
Half a country. Whoa, okay.
Yeah.
So you went for like how many days would you say?
We'd go for the summer.
Yeah.
Because we'd fly in and then hang out with my grandparents, and then my dad would come down and get us, and then we'd hang out for him.
And this is you and
my sister,
the podcast super fan.
Oh yes, podcast super fan. And yeah, so it was for a while.
Fair. My dad lived like the next city over, so I went every other weekend.
Oh, okay. No, we just went in the summer, and then
that's all right.
Wasn't too bad.
Yeah. You take any good media in lately, Dave?
Well, I have started my 31 Days of Halloween. Thunder crash.
Yeah. Spooky haunted house noises.
Chains rattling.
Spooky day.
Yes.
Have you started watching any of them yet?
Yes. It's, as the time of recording, it's the 3rd.
Yes.
So I've watched 2 movies already.
Okay. And what were they?
The Omen.
Okay.
And
you did post the list online.
Yeah,
on the
Facebook page.
Just if you're in Facebook, Blue River Lounge Podcast.
Yeah, and you can see the list. It's more of an outline.
Yeah.
Because I know
I liked some of the movies you had on there.
Yeah, because I know I have access to some of those movies, but some of them I'm going to have to figure out how to watch them, I guess. I think I'm going to go to Disco Round.
Yeah.
And look through their pile and see if they have some of them too.
That's fair. Let's see what you got on here. I'm just going to name a couple of my favorites. First of all, Tusk was number 3. You've seen Tusk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good. They're not in any particular order.
Yeah. Well, I imagine they were in the order that you thought of them.
Yeah, and it's also I have a piece of paper that throughout the year I would be see something or think of one and write it down.
Yeah. Also, Scream is a super quality movie.
Yeah.
The Thing and The Thing from Outer Space.
Yeah, I almost got
Craft.
That one from the library, but it was the remake, and I'm like, you're not gonna fool me this time.
Well, and I do like how you have on here Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974. Is that the original one?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if they made another one that was called 1974.
No, that one's a really good one that we can probably talk about at a later date.
Yeah, and then The Hills Have Eyes, or original, you have on there.
Yeah, because I have the remake at home, because that's the one they tricked me at Horror Fest,
Oh.
where they had the original cover, but then I found out it was just a piece of cardboard they glued onto it.
Mm-hmm. And then, so I know you just watched Black Phone, but you're wanting to watch it again?
Yeah.
Okay. I have been wanting to watch that. I haven't yet. I think it's streaming now, so I should try to watch it.
Yeah.
And then I like how you have on here Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yes.
Nice.
You got to have some levity ones. I also have Young Frankenstein.
Oh, is that on here?
Yeah. It's a good comedy horror movie. I think I'm going to watch that one tonight.
And then you got Pearl, which you haven't seen yet, right?
Right.
And that is the prequel to X.
Yeah.
Which you have seen.
I'm hoping I can catch that, because X came out on DVD.
X gonna give it to you.
Pretty quick after it showed up on the scene.
Yeah.
Because I think that's how they do it nowadays. It'll be theater or movie theater, and then by the time it comes to streaming, they already have the DVD. Because it used to be before, you'd have to wait months or half a year before the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, DVD.
Because I think they would hold off until Easter and Christmas.
I think there would be a gap in between the theater and the DVD release.
Yeah, but now it's almost simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. When you were a kid and you would go to a Family Video or a Blockbuster, would you spend more time looking through the new releases or the favorites?
The video games.
Fair.
But up until COVID, I think, is when they closed. Their new releases were around the wall, the outside wall, and I just walk it in reverse order.
Okay.
Yeah, so by the time that I got to the A's, I was or if I was looking for something in particular.
Mm-hmm. I get you.
Yeah. But
Well, I'm glad to pick. I probably won't watch all 31 of those, but
Yeah.
I'm glad to pick some stuff off of there to
pick and
watch.
choose.
Yeah. I don't know if I talked about it last time. I watched the new Matrix movie.
Yeah, how was that?
Matrix 4. I really liked it.
Yeah.
But I could see how some people would not. I felt like at some point towards the end, it really ramped up, like they were trying to get it over with. And it was like a 2-hour movie.
Yeah. Well, what I heard was like the first 2/3 of the movie is pretty good, and then the last third, they're like, here's all that Matrix stuff that some people wanted to see.
And I liked the beginning, I think, a lot more than the end.
Yeah,
just because it was different.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And then I think I talked about it on the last one. After the last episode, I went and saw Clerks 3.
Yeah, you were saying you were going to go see that.
Yeah, we went to the Moline Theater, and my wife was super hungry, and we were going to eat afterwards. We were trying to go see it in Davenport because they got those comfy loungers.
Yeah.
But it was only playing in Moline at one time at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it was like 6:45.
Ooh.
and so we cut out, go down, and my wife's super hungry, so we get Mr. Panda's, and we sneak it into the movie theater. Nobody else in the theater, dude.
Really?
Yeah, dude, we were talking the whole time and laughing and eating Chinese food.
That's cool.
It was a great movie experience for Clerks 3, and it was a great movie. I really love Kevin Smith and all of his work.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great movie. I heard a bad review about it, and I think that guy was smoking crack.
I haven't heard a bad review about it. Most people say if you like Kevin Smith, you're gonna like the movie.
That's what I agree with.
It's, but I also saw like a snippet or like a clickbaity thing that said like Kevin Smith was feeling like he might be irrelevant or not relevant because his movie was kind of bombing.
Oh, well, I would bet it may be kind of like the original Clerks.
Yeah.
Because the original Clerks bombed, but then it
got a cult following.
Yeah.
Well, most of his movies don't do well in the box office, but then like the DVD sales and shit are usually where he gets it, like all his money.
That's what I would think.
Yeah.
And hopefully somebody picks it up for streaming and he can make some money there too.
Yeah.
But it was the movie that he needed to make, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Because I think, like, Clerks 3, one time he was saying, like, he makes those weird art ones, sort of, sometimes. Like Tusk and Yoga Hosers.
Yeah.
And, but then he can, like, those help finance, like, the Clerks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then those, all it's like a self-perpetuating system.
Yeah. And I think maybe putting this, it was just the perfect bow on the trilogy that's Clerks.
Yeah.
And maybe he can move past it to more stuff, is what I would hope. And I wouldn't mind. I don't remember how Red State came about, but I think he was trying to pitch it to somebody, and they were like, no, and so he wrote it.
Really?
Yeah. And so I would like him to see him do more stuff like that.
Yeah. And I don't know. I've seen Cop Out, and I didn't think it was that bad.
He dogs on Bruce Wilson so hard.
Yeah.
Working with him in that.
Right. But they also said the movie was bad, but I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah, I never saw it. And I think he's directed a bunch of superhero TV shows like The Flash and maybe Supergirl.
Yeah, and he does write a bunch of comics and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he's putting stuff out.
Yeah.
And he's probably got plenty of cash.
Yeah, and it'd be cool. I mean, those guys, like, his characters are getting old.
Yeah. And you know what? Another movie I watched was The Munsters.
Oh, yeah?
Which Rob Zombie.
Right.
And he just like Kevin Smith, he casts like essentially all the same people for roles.
Right. His wife.
Yeah. And it wasn't bad. And to be honest, I only got through half of it because I started it kind of late.
Yeah.
Here comes Podcat.
Yeah.
And I started it kind of late, and so I wanted to go to bed because I had to work in the morning. But it just wasn't quite there for me.
Really?
And I got another hour of the movie to watch, but it was just I liked all the acting because like Sherry Moon Zombie doesn't play the same character.
Yeah.
But she just wasn't quite, I think, as good an actor as they could have found.
Well, that's what I've heard too, where he's got all these actors that are used to playing like horror movies or acting in horror movies, and then he's like, here's a PG rated comedy. Like, so there is going to be like hiccups and stuff, and it's also one of those things where you're a fan of, you know, Bob Dylan using an acoustic guitar, and once he plugs in the electric guitar, you're like, oh, this sucks, this isn't what I thought.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, there's very few Rob Zombie movies that I actually care for, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
And you know what, most of them they're just right below my threshold.
Really?
Yeah, like I actually really liked Lords of Salem. Everybody else says they hated it.
It was one of his best cinematically, like the shots and everything were really beautiful, but it just dragged. It was super slow, and if you're a horror fan, once you figure out what's going on, you're like, oh, I could just go watch Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And
I'm not a huge horror fan, but like the movie 31, had you seen that?
Yeah.
I loved everything about it except Sherry Moon Zombie, and like all the characters were lined up to be some of the best characters I've ever seen. And then like things just kind of I felt like went sideways.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of plot.
Yeah.
Like,
and I feel like all Sherry Moon Zombie did was yell and like kind of break up, I felt like, the feel of the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Monsters, I thought it was pretty good. It was very stylized, which is how a lot of his movies are.
Yeah, but one of the complaints I heard is it looks like they just went to like a Spirit Halloween to get all the costumes and shit.
Yeah. But I don't know. I thought they were okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, and I think maybe that was a little bit of a nod to, you know, the cheesiness of it.
Yeah, like it's supposed to be campy.
Yeah.
It's one of those I would watch. Or if I was with like nieces and like little kids or something, I'd be like, let's put on this movie instead of watching Paw Patrol over and over again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's a very PG movie for sure.
Yeah. I also heard it could be weird where it's like the kids might not be into it, but then you're like, well, it's not, that funny threshold's not right there.
Yeah, I felt like maybe it wasn't slapsticky enough.
Okay. It's like you get that excitement of going to the top of the roller coaster, but then you never get the whoosh going down.
Yeah. And, you know, I guess we've hit plenty of horror movies so far, but next episode we got Jason Deathstitch coming in.
Oh, yes.
And we're going to be doing 5 horror movies.
Yeah.
Not necessarily top 5. 5 recommendable horror movies?
I would say.
Or just maybe a favorite 5?
Yeah. 5 iconic.
Personally iconic.
Yeah, ones that you would say are not your top 5, but 5. Well, you're just picking 5.
Yeah, just picking 5.
5 that you would talk about, 5 that you enjoyed and would share with other people.
Yeah. And me not being a horror buff, I am excited to hear what you guys think of my 5.
Okay.
So.
All right.
And I'm excited to hear your guys's.
Yeah.
I wonder how many of your guys's top 5 I won't even know.
I know out of the 3 I got in my brain, you might not know one of them.
Yeah. And I was talking to Jason, and he was saying that maybe we should compare lists so we don't overlap. But I kind of want some overlap.
Yeah.
And I don't know if mine will overlap with your guys's, but I'd be interested to see if any of your guys's overlap with yourselves. We got to make some time to go see Rocky Horror Picture Show this October.
Yes, we do have to figure that out.
And you guys should go see it too. If you are into any sort of horror or art or anything, you should go see a local production of Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, and if you're in a location where you're lucky enough that they do like the midnight screening with all the actors and people acting out the stuff, that's also a cool way to go.
Yeah, for sure. It's Rocky Horror Picture Show is not a movie I ever thought I'd like, but the first time I saw it was in the theater.
Yeah.
Like it was in a play.
Okay.
And so, and they had like the buyable bags to where you throw stuff and do stuff when things are said.
Yeah.
And that was just so much fun to me that like it's become one of my like high ranked movies now.
Higher ranked movies.
Just because that experience was so good.
Well, I can't even remember. I know Janet is a whore, but
Brad's an asshole.
Oh, Brad's an asshole. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the clouds were dark and pendulous. Describe your balls.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
It's the other way around.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to do the lead up before.
Right. Oh, right.
The dark callback before the
dark and pendulous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's all I had. Oh, I got another piece of art done, Dave.
I
may have already posted it before this came out. The cow and the alien I posted, and then I did a gypsy woman.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
A fortune teller. Gypsy. I think gypsy's kind of a bad word.
Yeah,
we talked about that in the fortune telling episode.
Yeah, it's a slang.
Yeah.
For Roma.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did and Dave's the idea man over here, popping them out right off his head. I'm gonna try to do, I think, at least one podcast art per month.
That's your goal.
Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, there's a new year coming up. It could be kind of your thing for next year.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a little more creative outside of the podcast and stuff like that. But this fortune teller, I'll probably have it up before this comes out. But
you think so?
Yeah, if you check it out, hope you like it. Oh, and we're gonna get T-shirts.
We're gonna get T-shirts.
We're getting T-shirts.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a drop ship website, and we'll be able to get them on shopabernathy's.com.
Yeah.
And I'm mostly doing it so that I can have a T-shirt. And if you want one, you're more than welcome.
Well, of course.
And if the listeners want one, they're more than welcome.
All right, but it's one of those print-on-demand kind of deals?
Yeah, so it'll probably take 3 weeks to get to you. But
that's always cool because I ordered a couple T-shirts from, like, podcasts and YouTube guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then, all of a sudden they just show up and you're like, that's like Christmas.
Yeah, so look out for that. And the best way to keep up with that and any new stickers and art is definitely the Facebook page.
Yes.
And there should be a link in the show notes for that, too, if you don't want to look it up.
Right.
But I'm excited to get that T-shirt.
Yeah. Wear it around.
It'll be done before November because I have Iron Invasion coming up, which will be done the weekend before this comes out.
Yes.
And so I won't have time to do it then. But shortly after this podcast, hopefully before the podcast with Jason.
Yeah. Have something.
Yeah. Are you ready to get in not the meat and potatoes, the full-size candy bar of the episode?
The pumpkin and the patch of it?
The pumpkin and the patch, the pumpkin spice of it.
Yes. Oh, yeah. How do you fix a broken pumpkin?
You put a patch on it?
A pumpkin patch.
Pumpkin
yes,
patch,
I already gave the answer right. Yes.
That's all right. The history of Halloween for this spooky October episode.
Whoa. Lightning crash.
Squeaky door.
Rattly chain.
I was working in the lab late one night. Oh.
Yeah.
History of Halloween. So who do you want to go first? You want me to go first, Dave? I think there's only one place to start.
You think so?
Yeah. I think you got to start with the pagan holiday of Samhain.
Yeah. Which
I heard only one source that it was pronounced a different way.
Hayan?
Hayan, yeah.
Samhain.
Yeah.
But I think the H is kind of like when you say Whip.
Whip, okay.
Like cool Whip. So it's like Samhain.
Okay. I only heard one source, but I doubt we heard the same source. So maybe that is the super old way of saying it.
Samhain?
Samhain?
Yeah, it seems like anybody that is into this stuff says it Hoyen.
And we have a guy, and it started in Ireland, right?
Yes, in 3000 BCE.
Okay, and we have a guy from Ireland that works with us, but he wasn't there today for me to ask.
Oh, to see if he's into old Celtic
pagan religion?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask him that now.
Yeah. But, yes, it was on the 31st.
Okay.
October 31st, and that was actually their New Year.
Oh, really?
Because in the Celtic religion or whatever, they believed that night came before day.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
So then it's death before life. And they said they divided their calendar between the light half and the dark half. And then one day in the middle, it's kind of like the good and the bad. So like heaven and hell.
Yeah.
Or like, even though they're not really what they believe, but that kind of thing, like good and bad, or like life and death, more like instead of good and bad, like life and death. And so then it's when the veil between the two is the thinnest.
Yeah. And like spirit, there's a lot of different cultures that believe that time of the year, within a couple of days, the veil between the underworld is the thinnest, and spirits can potentially walk among the earth.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty close to the same of the Day of the Dead.
I think
that's like November, early November.
Is
like
it?
the 5th? We can look it up.
Yeah,
I'll do that while you talk.
Yeah, but the Celtic people would celebrate Samhain.
Just say Samhain.
Samhain, that's
We're
it.
a couple of white guys.
No, I keep looking at it, and it's Samhain.
It is spelled I just spelled it the way it sounded.
Samhain.
I spelled it like that on purpose so I didn't screw it up the whole time.
But they would celebrate on the hill of Taryn, which is the actual seat of the High Kings of Ireland. And on the hill is this mound called the Mound of Hostages, which is kind of like a tomb or like a Neolithic monument. And that's how they can tell that when Halloween or like the Samhain started, because of the carbon dating of this mound.
Oh, okay.
Where the opening of it, like speaking of ley lines, on the morning of the 31st, the sun shines directly into this mound.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's got to be done on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Because, because that's where they do the big bonfire and everything that night.
Yeah. The Day of the Dead is November 1st.
Okay.
The evening of November 1st.
Oh, that makes sense. For some reason, I thought it was the day before, but November 1st works because that's also All Saints Day.
Yeah, and the people celebrating Day of the Dead would have been, across the whole ocean from this Celtic area of Europe.
Well, I'm not sure. I know it's a Mexican tradition, or like we relate it to being Mexican, but I'm not sure if it's not Spanish or from Spain.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like something they brought from Spain.
Yeah, that's something to look up in a later podcast.
Yeah.
It could be like some sort of appropriated type thing.
Maybe. Yeah. And but this the site, the Mount or the Hill of Taryn, they said it was also used by the Tuatha De Dan, which is like the pre-Celtic people of Ireland. So the quote-unquote origins of Halloween might have been farther back than 3,000 years, which, to put in perspective, 3,000 BCE, the pyramids were like 2,000 BCE.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So what was that, the people before that?
You want me to say that again?
Well, I think, and I might be wrong, but there's a book series I read, and it's got a lot of Celtic background in it, but it could be like the Tua de Danann.
Yeah, Tuathe Dan, and
yeah, it's kind of like the Fae type stuff.
Yeah,
real world Fae type stuff.
Yeah, that's weird because when I was gonna repronounce it, I was gonna say it closer to that.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I like this type of stuff. These older traditions where you'd get everybody together and have a big bonfire and eat a lot of food right after your harvest. Sacrifice a bunch of meat. They would have a lot of sacrifices, from what I read, because the meat would keep longer in the winter.
Yeah,
and they'd have a lot of traditions that grew to what they are now, and maybe we'll talk about those later. But the idea of having I'm a big family gathering type person.
Yeah.
So I always love this type of concept.
Well, in the Celtic tradition, on this mountain, this seat where the kings are, the Hill of Terran, they would have the big bonfire. But like a side note, they would throw bones from like animals in there. And so it became bone fire, and then it got bastardized to bonfire.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I never would put that together.
But they would, all the people that were close enough, they would extinguish their fires in the house and clean it all out, and then go up to this big fire and take that fire and then relight their fires at home.
It reminds me of like a Olympic torch type situation.
Yeah, kind of.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I feel like what we think of now as Halloween is you go out with just your kids and go to random people's houses.
Yeah.
As opposed to, and to me it feels like a spreading out as opposed to a coming together like it obviously used to be.
Yeah. Because pretty much that was their thing. They just kept everybody close, and then it was kind of the spooky time because they also didn't let people wander because they would say that they were like bogeys and shit out there to
I mean it gets darker a lot earlier, and I've always thought that those types of lore, for lack of a better term, were to protect you from getting lost or getting attacked by wolves or any other
death.
Any other types of things that could happen to you in the woods. So they created these fables to kind of scare you off from it. Scare you off from being an idiot,
right? Wandering around when it's cold out. Do you want to hear a long convoluted story?
Yeah, definitely, because I got one of those too.
Yeah. Well, in ancient Rome, the pagans celebrated a day called Lemura or Limara.
Okay.
Lemuria.
Okay.
Which is the same spelling as the Atlantis, like sister island that we talked about in that episode.
Yeah.
But it was on May 13th where it was when they would pay tribute to the dead, or they thought that the dead could like cross over to the living or come and visit the living, and that they would give them offerings by going to their graves and leaving cakes and pouring milk on their graves. Mm-hmm. And it was just a day to like honor your dead, pretty much. And the Christian church came along in 1609 AD and turned it into All Saints Day.
Yep.
Where they would celebrate the holiest of Christian believers, and then to get the pagan Romans to kind of come over to Team Christianity.
Yeah.
And it worked so well that they decided to move it to November 1st, and it's All Saints Day, but it was also called Hallows Day because like hallowed ground or like hallowed saints,
Yeah.
Because it was like a marketing ploy by the church because it worked so well to get the pagans from Rome to become Christians. They're like, well, we can get these Celts to become Christian if we move, it next to their holiday, and then drain some of their, the steam off of it. Be like, hey, we got this cool holiday too.
Yeah.
And so then it was called Hallows Day or All Saints Day, but people called it Hallows Day. So then the 31st started to becoming called All Hallows Evening.
Mm-hmm.
And then
like you have a Christmas Eve.
Yeah. But in Irish, even is evening.
Okay.
So it was Hallows Even, All Hallows Even, and then finally just Halloween.
Okay.
That's how you get the in at the end of Halloween.
The phonetics.
Yeah, pretty much got bastardized into it.
And so also what I had heard is in England. So to me, I feel like I don't see Halloween in a lot of different countries. And maybe I don't look. And maybe that's kind of fucked up for me to say if I haven't looked.
Right.
But in England, Guy Fawkes Day ended up kind of overshadowing Halloween in the parts.
Yeah, for the fun parts.
Yeah.
Because nothing against Christianity, but Christian holiday back then was probably a lot of going to church and dressing up and praying.
Yeah.
Well,
and I had heard a lot of traditions beforehand, as it was turning into, the All Hallows Eve and stuff. It was kind of more like Christmas caroling, where people would dress up in costume, but not like exaggerated costume like you see now. They would dress up in costume and do little plays, or sing Bible verses to get little morsels of food.
Yeah, that was because they had All Saints Day, which was just for like the saints, and then November 2nd they made into All Souls Day.
Okay.
So, and then that was because the one is to recognize the saints, dead saints, and then the other one is to recognize all dead. And they believed, or they still do, in purgatory.
Okay.
Where if you're not bad but you're not good, you just kind of go into this limbo.
This white zone.
Yeah, but I guess if you get enough of your family members like send you prayers, and you can collect enough prayers to pay your way into heaven, pretty much.
Okay.
So then these kids, or like beggars, or like kids, would go to houses and ask for soul cakes, which are just like spicy little raisin cakes.
Okay.
And then they would be like, I'll pray for your dead relative to make sure they're not in purgatory if you give me some cakes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then
a little tit for tat.
Yeah. And they started singing, like just singing prayers, like hymnals and shit, to like get people to give them food. And then what you were talking about, like small acting troupes called mummers.
Yep.
Yeah. They took it a step farther and started putting on little plays for like the rich people.
Yeah, they would call that mumming and guising.
Yeah, or soul plays. Yeah. And then they would just like put on some kind of play where one of the kings fights a guy on a three-legged horse or something.
Three-legged horse.
Yeah, and then there'd always be like an old lady, but it'd be a dude. And then there would be like the drunk doctor.
Yeah.
So it was all kind of like a silly kind of play.
Yeah, for sure. And that was some of the precursors for trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
And do we want to talk about it coming to the U.S. yet, or do you want to keep it in Europe for a little bit longer?
Well, yeah, the next thing I have in my notes is kind of like what you were talking about, Guy Fawkes Day.
Okay.
And that when the British came, they were Puritans because, they were persecuted for being too strict or something. So then they came to the New World and set up like that Scarlet Letter type shit.
Yeah.
So kind of the Halloween was not quite in, but they would do some Guy Fawkes celebrating. Yeah. So it kind of kept it like going that that time period right there to have some kind of celebration.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else in the old world?
I do have the story of Jack-o'-lantern.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't remember why I looked this up. I thought we did an episode on it, but you say we didn't.
Of Jack-o'-lantern?
Yeah.
No.
But I looked it up at one point as to why we carve pumpkins to celebrate Halloween. And it started in Ireland as an old tale of Stingy Jack. And so Stingy Jack was an old drunk Irish blacksmith who was like really tight with money and super rude to people. And this is a whole like tale. I had listened to it. I kind of wanted to print it out and read it, but it was kind of long. So I'm just going to give the cliff notes here.
Yeah.
But so this Stingy Jack was such a jerk that the devil actually like both despised and admired him, and for how cruel he was. And so the devil wanted Jack dead. So on Jack's walk home from town or the bar or something, the devil laid down on the ground. When Jack came across him, this body, he got close, and when he did, the devil kind of surprised him.
Yeah.
And stood up and like grew huge to intimidate him.
There shined a shiny demon in the middle of the road, and he said,
"Play the But so the devil stands up and scares Jack, and he says, "Jack, your soul is mine. I'm going to take you back to hell with me." And Jack says, "Well, wait a second here." And he says, "Can I ask you for a favor?" And the devil says, "Well, yeah, sure." He's kind of intrigued as to what this guy could be gutsy enough to ask for.
So brazen.
And so Jack says, "Before you take my soul, can I just have one more drink?" And the devil says, "Yeah, sure." And they go to like the local pub, and they go in, and nobody seems to notice that he's there with the devil.
Yeah.
And he gets served a beer, and he's about to lose his soul, so he downs the whole beer in one drink. And the devil says, "All right, Jack, your soul's mine." And Jack says, wait. We haven't paid the bartender yet, and I don't have any money. And he tricks the devil into turning into a silver coin, and he pays. And before he pays the bartender, he puts the coin in his pocket, right next to his crucifix.
Oh.
And so the devil can't change back out of the coin.
Yeah.
And so Jack says, "Listen here, devil. You're going to give me 10 more years.
Old Jack Burton used to say.
Well, you know what old Jack Burton used to say? That devil's going to give me 10 more years.
Yeah.
And the devil's pissed off about it, but he does give Jack 10 more years. So Jack lets him free. And so Jack goes back to living, and he's like, "Well, I tricked the devil once. I can do that again. No big deal." And so after 10 more years, he hasn't really thought about it. The devil shows up again. And this time, the devil says, "All right, it's been 10 years. You're coming with me, Jack." And Jack says, wait. I don't want to die on an empty stomach. And he points to an apple tree, and he's like, "Can you grab me one of them apples, and I'll eat it really quick, and then you can take me to hell." And the devil climbs this tree, and Jack really quick carves a crucifix into this tree.
Yeah. He's like, "Can you do that old serpent trick for me with that apple?"
Yeah, I didn't get that. That's pretty funny. And the devil can't come down because there's a crucifix on the tree. And Jack says, "Listen here, devil. You are not going to take my soul. Promise me you won't take my soul, and then I'll let you down." And then the devil is super pissed, and he says, "All right, fine. I won't take your soul." And it's something maybe along the lines of, "I won't ever take your soul."
Yeah.
So Jack lives out the rest of his days, however long you get, when you're a miserable drunk.
Right.
And so when he kicks the bucket, he ascends to the gates of heaven, and he appears before God. And God's like, no, you were a bad dude.
Yeah.
To hell with you. So the hole opens up, and he falls out through the clouds. And he lands at the gates of hell. And guess who's standing there? old devil.
Beelzebub.
Beelzebub. And
they were on the first name basis by then.
yeah. They're old drinking buddies.
Yeah.
And Jack says, well, I guess they come in here, right? And the devil's like, oh, you think so? Because we made a deal. And I don't go back on my deals, Jack. And I can't let you in here. And so Jack's like, I don't know what else to do. Can you please let me in? And he's like, no. And the devil gives him a hollowed out turnip. And he reaches down to the pits of hell and puts a little bit of this hellfire into this turnip. And then Jack is forced to wander for eternity.
Right. The part I heard, though, was that he already had the turnip because it was like his favorite food. And the devil's like, here's a coal from hell. And so Jack's like, I'll put it in this turnip. Carve out this turnip and put it in there.
But yeah, that's the story of Jack-o'-lantern.
Wait, so you were saying turnip, but what about pumpkins?
I'm glad you asked, Dave. I'm glad you asked. So pumpkins actually didn't grow in Ireland, or at least maybe they weren't wild. So turnips were like the closest thing there.
Yeah.
But when the Irish made their way to America during the potato famine, and they brought these traditions with them.
Yes.
So
1845.
Yes.
Yes.
And so I guess, but right before that, so this jack-o'-lantern tradition would be what you would call the sun, or the light that would appear over fogs. I have it written down here. The will o' the wisp.
Oh, yeah.
So that you'd see that light above a fog, and they would say that was jack-o'-lantern, prowling around. And that could have been also a story to keep kids out of the woods. Don't go into the woods when it's foggy.
Yeah.
Old Jack might get you.
And I think maybe you heard something that also, well, back in the day, like drunk people coming back from the bar at night would have like their little turnip with a little coal in it from the bar.
Oh.
And so, that would be a way to keep kids from like hanging out with drunks or like going out because they'd be like, oh, the drunk guys are out there.
So the Irish came to America in what year?
1845.
1845.
Yeah, like 1.5 million adults and children.
Damn, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So they came here, and pumpkins just happened to be around the same time of the holiday season, and they're fucking everywhere here.
Yeah.
Also, probably maybe a little easier to carve.
They are native to the Americas.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. And so they were easier to come by, probably bigger, easier to carve.
Yeah.
And then you're carving fancier designs in them.
Right.
And that's how jack-o'-lanterns got did.
Do you know what the largest pumpkin ever grown was?
No, I don't.
It was grown by Stefano Catripi in Italy.
Okay.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have guessed.
Okay. And it was 2,702 pounds.
Damn.
Yeah, it's like something about like the weight of 17 grown men, or like more than a Nissan Micra.
Nissan Micra.
Yeah. And the largest jack-o'-lantern was carved by Mike Rudolph, and that was 2,350 pounds.
That how heavy was the first one?
2,702.
Oh, okay. Because you're probably taking out about 500 pounds worth of gut.
Yeah, I think they weighed it before you started carving it.
Oh, okay.
And it was in like 2001, 2020.
Oh, wow. I feel like that's fairly recent.
Yeah, because guess what the theme of it was?
It wasn't. I don't know. I can't think of anything terribly appropriate, so I'm gonna shut up.
Tiger King.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's what he called it, but it was a face of a tiger, like roaring.
Okay.
But he called it the Tiger King.
So he didn't. It wasn't really anything to do with it. I hope not. Well, where was it? Where do you know where it was carved? Because if it was in Florida or whatever, was that Florida? Or Georgia?
It wasn't Florida. It was in Anoka, Minnesota.
That's pretty far from.
What's M in?
From the tiger. Matt Nicky?
No. Is that
Minnesota?
Minnesota. Okay. Yeah. In quote unquote the Halloween capital of the world.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, they call themselves that. That's like their little town thing.
Well, you know what I say? I say Keene, New Hampshire is the Halloween capital of the world because that is where the most jack-o'-lanterns lit in one display was.
Oh, yes, I heard that. Do you know how many?
30,581.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That
was just a guess off the top of my head. I definitely don't have it written on my paper here.
But that was on display, like I guess throughout the whole town.
Yeah. You couldn't have that many in one spot, I feel like. It'd be
unless you were in Boston Commons in Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, no.
And in one place, they lit 3,128 jack-o'-lanterns.
That's a fire hazard.
All in one, like, square. Yeah. That's crazy. Do you know, this is one, because I also heard that jack-o'-lanterns kids really liked because they could put them on a stick and then put a sheet over them and then hold them up in front of windows and scare people.
Oh, that's cool. That type of idea came from Washington Irving's story, The Headless Horseman.
Oh, yeah.
Which didn't even necessarily have anything to do with Halloween, but a lot of things were getting grouped into Halloween just because of the kind of the whole idea of death and like occult type stuff.
Right. Do you know why when you make a homemade costume of a ghost, you use a sheet?
No.
Because it represents a winding sheet or like a shroud.
Oh, that you'd like put over a body.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, like the Shroud of Turin.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so not only was Jesus the first zombie, he was the first ghost in a sheet. He was probably like, ooh. No, it's like, I'm a zombie.
I definitely thought you were teeing up a joke there.
Kinda,
yeah. Did you know that a quarter of all candy produced in the United States is sold around Halloween?
I can buy that.
You can buy candy.
Yeah. And I've heard that Halloween is the second most expensive holiday.
I believe that.
Or that people spend the most money, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause it's so crazy to me how... So my wife likes vintage stuff.
Yeah.
And every once in a while we'll come across like a vintage costume. Like at one time she had a Darth Vader one, I think.
Oh, really?
And it was just like a paper plate thin mask and just like a vinyl sheet.
Yeah.
And it just had like a hole in it and you just like put it over your body. But now these costumes have like muscles and like plastic bits.
All sorts of craziness.
Yeah, princess dresses.
Well, in the early 1900s, Halloween was a time for pranks.
Okay.
And it was a time that pretty much boys would just run the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And they would do things like steal gates. Like
steal gates off of fences?
Yeah, especially at farmhouses, so the livestock would get out.
Oh, no, that's crazy.
Yeah, some people actually called it gate night.
Gate night.
Yeah. They would move people's stairs. And so when they walked out their front door, they would just fall.
Yeah. Well, so that's the trick or treat, the trick portion of trick or treating. Yeah. So the costume portion was said to have gone back to the portion of Samhain where people would dress in animal hides and skins.
Yeah.
And dance around the fire. And then, there's a podcat. The treat version we already talked about was the mumming and guising.
Yeah.
And that transferred into, the trick or treat apples and popcorn balls.
Yeah.
And then capitalism took a hold.
Right. Well, I was gonna kind of get into that because it was, because they would also throw rocks through windows because it became not so much. It was just playing pranks.
Yeah. So some other pranks I heard. This time I'll actually stay on topic instead of totally going off your topic.
No, that's all right.
Was like tipping over outhouses.
Yeah.
And throwing rotten eggs.
Flipping over cars.
Yeah,
it got so bad that in 1933.
Well, how much could a Model A weigh?
No, or they would
T?
They would take apart buggies and reassemble them on people's roofs. But in 1933, at the height of the Great Depression, kids, mostly boys, did millions of dollars of damage, and they called it Black Halloween. Because if you think millions of dollars in 1933
would be a lot today.
Yes, because I looked it up. $1 back then, it had enough buying power as $22 now.
Holy smokes! Like $22 million worth of damage.
Yeah, but they said millions, so it could,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so some cities were starting to think about banning Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
But then in 1939, American Home Magazine, this lady wrote an article about how she gave out treats to stop the tricks.
Oh, okay.
So, and then, because I heard it was this, but then I also heard that it was some magazine in Canada, but I don't think Canada's real. So, but so then they started having these books to get explain how to do parties or give you ideas for parties, because then if you could do parties, the kids weren't out causing pranks.
Yeah.
That's also where haunted houses came from.
Whoa.
Because they started being like, oh, come here and get spooked. Come here and, do this instead of going out and fucking destroying the town.
Yeah.
And there was a really famous one was the Bogey Books. Did you hear about this?
I think I may have heard of it, but I didn't hear the name called the Bogey Books.
Yeah, it was by Denison, and they made these books to show you how to make costumes and how to do parties and different games and weird ways to do fortune telling kind of stuff.
Yeah, I did hear stuff like that. That was super popular to get these books on how to do these parties.
Yeah, well, because Denison's was the first company that was like, there can be money made here.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. And, you were talking about commercialism. That's why I was trying to, slow you down a little bit. Because then, also, once Sears noticed, and then they started making pre-boxed costumes, like that cheap vinyl with just a half of mask kind of thing. Yeah.
Which I feel like every homemade costume I've had has been way better than a store-bought costume.
Oh, yeah, of course.
What were some good Halloween costumes you had, Dave?
I was Batman one year.
Cool.
I've been a gangster.
Along with that one, that's kind of like almost an inappropriate costume.
What?
A gangster?
Yeah, walking around with a Tommy gun.
Yeah, my mom let me be a hobo one year.
Yeah,
and she gave me a painted on 5 o'clock shadow, and I had a fake cigar. And
yeah. I don't know. I went all the time, so sometimes you just buy a mask, and just put a hoodie on. I never had super elaborate ones. My mom made this super elaborate one for herself where she used coat hangers and made spider legs.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, and then she was like a wedding dress, but she had a black veil on.
Oh.
And so she was a Black Widow spider.
Nice.
But she had this mask, so if you flipped up the veil, it was this kind of mosquito crazy looking thing.
Oh, that's crazy. I actually just heard a weird story about Black Widows in that they get a huge bad rap.
Yeah.
Back in the 40s and 50s. So they are said to eat their... This is spider stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of Halloween stuff.
Yeah,
right?
it's Halloween.
So they, back in the 40s and 50s, there were a few deaths, like kind of a lot at one time.
Yeah.
And so where are bugs? Stinky places. Where's Stinky? An outhouse.
Yeah.
And so how do you get to the stink? Is you go through the bowl. So
Right.
a lot of black widow spiders would make their webs in bowls, and then you're a guy. You go out there to take a number 2.
Yeah.
And then you get bit in the ding dong by this black widow spider.
Okay. Or
right?
on the butt.
But that like totally went away as soon as there was indoor plumbing and stuff.
So they're not as deadly as...
Right. There hasn't been a black widow death in like a long time.
Okay.
And there also used to be called a shoe button spider.
Really?
Yes.
Because it would be in your shoe?
I don't know why. I think it was because of like the shape of them.
Oh, okay.
Like kind of round maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I heard that today, and then you started talking about it, so I thought it was interesting.
No, that's cool.
We were talking about costumes.
Yeah, before you would either get like a home magazine or something, and your mom would sew you a costume.
Mm-hmm.
But then once, Sears and them started like making the box costumes, and you could go and just buy whatever. You'd be a superhero or...
Yeah, and now, both parents generally work, so you probably don't have time to do it.
Right. So pretty much candy, haunted houses, and treats stop people from being so rowdy on Halloween.
Yeah. And I'm sure you know about the urban legends of trick-or-treat candy.
Oh, yes.
Razor blades and needles in the candy.
Yeah.
There was never any reported cases of this.
Of the razor blades?
Yeah. There was one case of a child being poisoned by their trick-or-treat candy.
I know firsthand case of that.
Really?
Yes. It was me and 3 friends. We went down to this like Ritchie neighborhood.
Okay.
And everything was prepackaged except this one house where the lady had popcorn balls or an apple. 2 of us got apples, 2 of us got popcorn balls. Ate the popcorn balls. Me and the other friend took a couple bites of the apples and then like chucked them at trees and stuff. Fast forward, like done trick-or-treating, we're waiting in this parking lot for parents to come and pick us up. And then everybody gets violently sick. Like
really?
All of us were like taking turns just throwing up.
Really?
Yeah. Because like it was when it was like, because we were at some business and it was after hours, but we could see people in there and like, can we use your bathroom or get a drink of water? And they're like, no. So we're like in the parking lot just
puked all over their door.
Yeah. I think we did. One of my friends puked in a mailbox.
Oh,
they're like,
God.
yeah, but it was bad.
They deserved it.
I know, right?
That sucks. Did you hear about anybody else getting sick?
No, but
Yeah.
because we didn't know the address or like anybody trick or treat in this area. It's not like we had phones to be like,
yeah, posted on Facebook. This lady poisoned us.
No, it was way back in the day when we had to use smoke signals.
Yeah. But remember, folks out there, there's no stoner out there that likes your kids enough to give them your edibles.
True. And I think the thing this year is that nerds that are fentanyl that looks like nerds. Nobody's going to, druggies don't have time for that.
Yeah, they're not, druggies more than likely aren't opening their house for kids to come.
Yeah, they're not going to have their street light on. And if they are and they give you a bag of what look like blue nerds, probably don't eat them. And then they'll probably like a half hour later be running down the street after you like, hey, stop.
A sandwich bag full of blue nerds.
Yeah. It's like, did you know that when The Great Pumpkin first aired, kids sent Charlie Brown like a bunch of candy and treats because they felt sorry for him because he only got a rock.
I'm gonna have to watch it. That needs to be on your next year's list.
The Great Pumpkin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been way too long since I've seen that. I don't remember The Rock, but that's funny.
Yeah. It's on the
also
list.
Heartwarming.
Yeah. They would, because the person I heard talk about it, they're like, don't they know he's a cartoon? I'm like, yeah, but you're a little kid and you're like, hey, Mom, can I send Charlie Brown some candy. I have enough Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah, Tootsie Rolls and honey O's or whatever they're called. Yeah,
or those brown and those black and gray.
Oh yeah,
things.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, those unnamed candies.
They're like toffee or something.
Yeah.
So witches and black cats are also something that are commonly referred to with Halloween.
Yeah.
But neither one of them have really had anything to do with them. Witches have been around European culture forever, but it's said that the Salem witch trials in the U.S. is really what like linked them to like the death portion of the Halloween.
Yeah.
And then like black cats have always been bad luck, and so it's kind of like these things are scary. Let's lump them with Halloween.
Yeah, I think it's also like back in the day, there wasn't as much stuff. There wasn't like
as much spooky stuff.
Yeah, there wasn't a creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah,
so the spooky stuff was like skeletons, ghosts, and witches.
Yeah,
were kind of the big three.
And then bats. Those were kind of thought to have been kind of a Samhain type tradition. Not tradition per se, but you have a big bonfire and then all the bugs kind of fly to it.
Yeah, your moths and stuff.
Yeah, and then the bats show up to swoop down and get the bugs. So they're kind of like maybe have to do a little bit with it.
Yeah, and they're probably gearing up for hibernation, so they're probably more active.
Eating a bunch, yeah.
Do you know that there's a day for candy corn?
No.
Yeah, it's.
Do you like candy corn, Dave?
I like candy corn.
Fuck you.
It's October 30th is Candy Corn Day.
Gross.
And
October 30th is dead to me.
October 30th. When it first came out, they called it chicken feed.
Yes, I did hear that.
Yeah.
And the guy made 1 billion pounds of it, and they've never made any sense.
Because they're still using the same
stuff.
they're
just shoveling it out of a big mine.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it the store?
Well, it was originally made for called chicken feed, and it was like a penny candy.
Yeah, like you get it out of the machine or whatever. Like the twisty guy.
No, before that, probably right. Like the big barrels of candy.
Oh yeah,
you see at the store.
You could just scoop them like at the general store kind of deal.
Well, candy corn.
Yeah,
and those fucking chalk hearts and fucking circus peanuts.
Those are.
They can all take
things.
their fucking hell-lit turnips and wander the countryside for eternity.
Circus peanuts, people sleep on that, man. Those are good.
People sleep on that.
Because they just look at it and they're like, what? I'm like, no, it's actually pretty. It's better than Peeps. Fuck Peeps.
No way, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, it's like eating plastic.
No, it's not.
It's like 3 molecules away from being poisoned.
I don't know. I used to eat them all the time.
Yeah, look at you, Dave.
Look at me. That's why I'm just got these tendencies. And
now you worship the devil.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to try to say this. This is a Dutch word, so it's crazy. Speculantskyruidin is?
No.
It's what the Dutch Indian Trading Company made out of cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, and allspice. Sometimes, like, what do you put on hams? That's those little?
I know what you're talking about.
Is that just a whole peppercorn?
Not a peppercorn, clove.
Oh, clove. Sometimes it'd be clove and cardamom.
Oh, that one is.
It's like a spice. But they would mix them all together and sell it as this spectral whatever. And people started putting it in different dishes, and then they really noticed that it paired well with pumpkin.
Okay.
And they started using it for pumpkin pies.
Ooh.
And then when it came to the New World, They just called it pumpkin spice.
Oh, don't mind if I do.
Right. And then this fast forward to 2003, Peter Dukes, an employee of Starbucks, fucking makes a pumpkin spice latte, and all the white girls of the world rejoiced.
That's fucking Jack-o'-lantern in true form.
Yeah.
He's walking around with a hell-lit fucking
frappuccino.
Yeah, for a cup of coffee.
It's like, I put the pumpkin spice in the latte. Yeah. And it's weird because
it's a good drink.
I guess.
I like it better than apple cider.
Really? I don't
ever drink it.
Yeah.
To be completely
I'm not
honest.
sure if I really go in. I like pumpkin pie.
I love pumpkin pie.
But like pumpkin spiced stuff, I'm like,
if I'm gonna spend $10 on a fucking medium-sized coffee, I'm gonna get something with chocolate in it, like a real human.
Right, not just some weird froth.
Yeah.
Do you know what the fear of Halloween is called?
The fear of Halloween. Spooktober.
No.
Oh.
It's got
10 E's.
Ophobia in it.
Ophobia?
Yeah.
What? You're trying to give me some sort of weird hint. I don't get it.
Okay, it's Samhainophobia.
Oh, Samhainophobia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we should do it. Do we have fears written up on the old list?
I don't know.
We're gonna have to put that up there. I want to do fears.
Fears?
Yeah.
Do you know what Halloween has to do with Harry Houdini?
His birthday.
No.
Damn it.
His death day.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's the opposite of what I thought.
He died on Halloween in 1926 in Detroit.
Rock City.
Yeah, with that whole safe fiasco.
Oof. Rip Harry Houdini.
I know. Do you know who produces the most pumpkins in the States?
Illinois.
Yeah.
Yes.
You got that one.
Do you know who produces the most uncandied corn in the United States?
Nebraska.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Oh, I was going to say Iowa, but I think we're pork.
Oh.
It's like Indiana. Nebraska might be wheat. I'm not sure, really. That's something I have to look
up later.
Yeah.
We'll post it on the Facebook, maybe.
Maybe if I think about it.
All right, we got time for a couple more, Dave.
Okay. Did you know that Halloween almost died?
What?
During World War II?
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, because
some sort of shortage on things?
And sugar rationing.
Oh.
So it wasn't practical to be making candy.
So they were making all of the like honey candies and stuff. The bit of honey. That's what that's called.
A bit of honey?
Yeah.
I don't know if they were doing that either, but it really, because everybody was depressed because
they couldn't get their sugar.
And the war was going on.
Yeah.
So there was, it kind of lost interest, but then.
And all the plastics were being used for explosives and such.
Yeah. So.
Couldn't make costumes.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they were saving. What do you?
The government took over costume factories, and like, you're fucking making uniforms right now.
Probably,
yeah,
they did shit like that. But then in 1952, Charles Schultz, made like a couple of comic strips about
the guy who made Charlie Brown's name. The guy who made the Peanuts is Charles Schultz.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Really?
No.
Okay. Haven't you ever seen Freddy Got Fingered? I'm gonna beat Charles Schultz.
I have seen Freddy Got Fingered.
But he did a bunch of comics where the Peanuts go trick or treating.
Okay.
And then Walt Disney, they produced a couple spooky Halloweens with like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and all that. And that kind of got people back into the spirit.
Okay.
So after the war ended, they kind of like
spirit of Halloween.
Yeah, got it revived again.
And that's why every year around this time, all the spirit Halloweens open up.
Yes, because of the spirit of Halloween. I got 2 party games, and then I'll be done.
I'm totally down for some games.
Well, the first one was like There are fortune telling stuff.
Okay.
How to tell your future.
Oh.
So if you have like it can be a guy or a girl.
Fortune telling fish. Shout out to the fortune telling episode.
Yeah.
Check that one out if you haven't.
And yeah, fortune telling fish. I still have that somewhere. I think it's in my book. It's in here.
It's your bookmark.
Yeah, but you give like a guy or a girl like 12 unpopped kernels of corn.
Okay.
And then have them pop them. And then the ones that don't pop, you count, and that's how many years before you get married.
Oh.
Yeah.
12?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't have like a shit ton, because then what if one kid he gets a bad handful and he's like,
I'll never
80.
get married.
I got 80. Yeah, I'm never getting married. I got one to pop. Yeah. And then another one is you put out like 4 plates or 3 plates, and you put milk in one and water in another, and then you leave the other one empty. And then you blindfold them and you spin them around and have them try to find the plates. And the one they put their hand in first, if it's the milk, they're going to be wealthy.
Oh.
If it's the water, they're going to be all right. And if it's the empty one, they're going to be struggling.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Don't want to get the empty one.
No, that would suck. Which makes me wonder. Well, I mean, you get spun around, but I feel like I have to switch up the plates.
I would think you'd have to.
Yeah.
Or else you're getting spun around hardcore.
Right.
But don't act like you've never been spun around so bad that you didn't know where you were.
Yeah.
Probably spun yourself around that much. I know I have.
I have too. And some of these playground spinners are crazy.
They're like little offset seats.
Yeah.
And they just
keep going.
Yeah,
and going
I couldn't
and
imagine
going.
a little ass kid in there. It's like getting you a little high.
Yeah. Well,
let's stop smoking so much crack and just go to the park more often.
Just go to the park. When I was a kid, we used to do the thing where you sit upside down. Like you put your feet up against the wall, and then you hang out there for however long. And then you're like, all right, let's get up. And you stand up real quick, and you get all lightheaded. And you're like, whoa.
All right, you ready to close it up? These podcasts need to go outside. They're driving me nuts.
Yeah, we're good. I think we got our bases covered about the origins of Halloween and spice lattes and stuff like that.
Yeah, let's. I want you guys to post your favorite costumes you had as a kid, or favorite horror movies for the upcoming episode. We'd love to do some shout outs about that.
Yeah, if you got a picture, if you was a kid in a costume, or
that'd be good.
As a adult in a costume, or a goof, one you're proud of.
Yeah, one you think is funny.
Right.
And hope you guys have a good Halloween, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. You be good to yourselves.
Yes, and remember, may we never grow out of the feelings that have made Halloween. Life is prosaic enough without stripping more of its pleasant fantasies away or stealing and slaying its laughter.
That was a good one, Dave.
Whatever, man. Go back to bed.
I'll see you guys. Say goodbye, Dave.
Goodbye, Dave.